Well, thanks everybody for joining us this morning for Good Morning ILA. It's the first week or beginning of summer reading, so we have a little bit of a small crew today, but that's hopefully makes for really great conversation later. Today we have a special guest with us. Amanda Bellis is the chair of the Committee for Diversity and Inclusion through ILA, and she is here to talk to us about that. I'm Amanda Vasquez. I'm the chair of the Communications Committee who's coordinating all of these events. So thanks everybody for joining us. And pretty soon I'm going to ask Amanda some questions and let you learn more about CD&I. So I already explained a little bit who you are in terms of ILA a little bit. Do you want to give us a little more of a little bio about yourself?
Sure. Yes, so I'm Amanda Bellis. In addition to my ILA hats, I am the Teen Services Librarian for the Ankeny-Kirkendall Public Library. So that covers middle school, high school age, bunch of stuff. I'm also in charge of our makerspace because that's a fun little side of things too. And then I am on the ILA board and am chair of the Committee for Diversity and Inclusion as part of that.
Did you bring a preferred work beverage with you?
I did. So I am a pretty equal opportunity coffee and tea person. I tend to start my days with coffee at home and tend to have tea more often at work. So today's is a cranberry rooibos in my lovely J.B. Fletcher Literary Society mug. For anyone here or in the recording who may not get the reference, that is a reference to Murder, She Wrote, one of the greatest TV shows of all time, starring Angela Lansbury, which I tend to get laughed at a little bit by my family for being a fan of, since it was on before I was even born, but I love it and it's fun. So that is my work mug for my tea.
Nice. Okay, so back to CD&I now that we've taken a little fun detour. So why don't you tell us a bit about the committee, the work that they do, why it's an important part of ILA?
Yeah. So the committee actually started as an ad hoc committee in 2016 and then was kind of voted into being a full standing committee in 2018. And the committee was formed to kind of advance awareness and to improve library service to underserved populations in Iowa, promoting issues related to traditionally underrepresented groups, promoting inclusive library services, just kind of bringing all of the diversity, equity, and inclusion issues to the forefront of what we're doing and kind of looking at how we can better incorporate that into our libraries, into our practices, into our collections, things like that. We also work to provide kind of professional development opportunities related to diversity and inclusion. And this is so important, especially because historically librarianship has been rather homogenous as far as what staff looked like, not always representative of the community, of the state, of the country as a whole. And so we're wanting to overcome that, certainly by encouraging hiring and retention of diverse staff, as well as just kind of promoting more ways that libraries can be more inclusive and can kind of better serve everyone. And so kind of related to that, that was one of the things that I was really interested in joining this community, because I know that I am representative of kind of the typical librarian, but have always been passionate about inclusive library practices, and I wanted to be a part of this committee to just kind of better understand how my library and how libraries as a whole can represent and include everyone through our policies, through our collections, through our programming, things like that.
Thanks. I think you already took over my second question and covered that, which is great for my next question, I guess. Is there anything upcoming with CD&I that you'd like to share, that you'd like to encourage us to participate in?
Yes, absolutely. So kind of an ongoing thing that we do are our bi-monthly social justice discussion groups. So those are meeting every other month. They're always the first Wednesday of the month at 10 and the second Monday at 2 via Zoom. So we kind of try to have different days, different times. So hopefully there's more opportunities for people to jump on and join those. And for each of them, we have kind of a different topic, and we have a variety of resources that we sort of collect related to that topic. So in June, we just finished kind of reading and discussing issues of microaggression. So our next meetings will be in August, looking at kind of living with a mental illness or a mental health condition. And so we send out the kind of the Zoom information and the resources for that as part of our monthly resource roundup that usually gets posted to Library Talk, gets sent out to all ILA membership. And we usually have some other resources in that as well, things that we've come across as a committee that is related to kind of the topics and the issues that we are looking at. But we also have, those resources for those discussion groups. And those are very, as much or as little as people want to participate. We have some people who come in and have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to talk about as far as how the topic relates to them and their library or things that they've seen. And so we'll have conversations about, how we can take what we've learned from those readings and kind of apply them to the work that we do. We also have some people who kind of just want to come in and listen and hear what others have to say, and that's absolutely fine too. Whatever everyone is kind of comfortable with and interest level on those. The other big thing that I would like to talk about that I'm excited about and is still very much in the early stages, a new project that we've been discussing this year is creating some toolboxes for librarians related to different diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. Some examples and some of the ones we're talking about is how do you start a diversity committee at your specific library or for your city or your institution? How can you evaluate your library policies through a DEI lens, evaluating your collections through something like a diversity audit or things like that, and then applying diversity, equity, and inclusion to your hiring practices. So this is still very early stages, and we're kind of putting the feelers out, hoping to talk to some library staff who have done some of these things in their library, in their city. If you've done that or you know people who have, we would love to hear from you. Just kind of to pick your brain a little bit to talk about what did you do, what worked, what didn't, so we can kind of start putting together some toolboxes for, hey, this is a thing you want to try. Here's some suggestions from the committee. And then the last thing to plug, because I just found out about this yesterday, I think, our unconference proposal for the ILA conference for this year was accepted. So we'll be doing, the unconference is a little more informal than a full session, but we're going to do kind of an informal book club chat. We've talked about starting maybe with how to be an anti-racist, since that's a title that's pretty readily available. Though we've also looked at some, possibly looking at just chapters from some more library focused texts. We were kind of waiting to hear, are we approved for doing this session? And then we'll narrow down from there. Hopefully we would be able to have everyone read the book or the chapters ahead of the conference so that we can then kind of discuss during the unconference session. And if that goes well and we find there's a lot of interest, we'd kind of like to explore doing some book or chapter discussions on alternate months of our social justice discussions next year, if there's enough of an interest in that. So those are kind of the big things that we are working on and exploring right now.
That's great. You're obviously part of a very busy committee.
Oh, yes.
A lot of ongoing stuff, which I think is really fantastic. That's the end of my questions. Does anyone else have any questions or comments about CD&I or for Amanda?
I just want to say thanks for all the work you do on this. Having served on the board of ILA, I always loved all the work that CD&I did, and it was really great to see it come to fruition after years of being sort of an ad hoc group. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you know or you've met at some point Kara Stone from Iowa State University. She's an old colleague and friend of mine. I just wanted to say real quick that she too is one of the world's biggest Murder, She Wrote fans. So if you didn't know that about her, you
I
did.
did not, but I'll have to remember that next time I talk to her.
She sings that loudly, so it's not a secret or anything. So she will talk to you about it. Yeah. So thanks again for your work.
Well, that's a fun little CD&I connection. I wonder if there's other little things, like bingo cards, maybe something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if no one else has any other questions, I'm going to stop the recording and just say thanks for joining us, and we'll move on to our social time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, hope everyone learned a little bit about CD&I and all of their work.